who is ready to start advancing their careers. Before we get started, I am not a professional career counselor or whatever it's called. I'm not a professional resume builder. I'm not a professional interview master. I'm not that professional person. But everything I will tell you is everything I've learned throughout my career. It's based on my personal experience. So obviously, if you don't agree with some things I say, that's okay, because there's no one specific way to do it. But I'm gonna share y'all stories of how I went about it, how it got me to where I am today. And remember, guys, different fields may require different things. So again, everything's from my personal experience. How to be prepared for an interview. Naya, that is a great first question. And EJ, why don't employees want me? EJ, this is what we're going to flip that question around. We're not going to say, why don't employers want me? But instead, we're going to phrase it as, how do we prepare better for interviews so that employers will want you? So now was how to be prepared for interviews. So the first thing about the interview process is, well, the thing you want to do that's so underrated is you want to actually research the company that you are interviewing for. I feel like a lot of people mislook this step, but it's such a very important, vital step in the interview process, because once you learn about the company, it can help tailor the way you answer questions, the way you have questions prepared for them, and it also affects your enthusiasm for the job, which is also very important. So that's step one. You always have to research the company, even if it's like a well-known company like Google or Apple or something like that. You know, everyone knows what Google and Apple is, but it's very important that you know the specific things that are relevant to your career. For example, if you are in accounting, you want to know how like their finances are structured, or like the way they handle the business, the way that they make revenue. If it's marketing, you want to learn how they do their ads and stuff like that, so that you know how to tailor your questions, to know how to answer them properly. So yes, research the company, research. Second tip I have for being prepared for an interview is, after you do the research, do the due diligence, you'd want to come up with questions that you want to ask them. Honestly, this is more, even if you're not particularly interested in the questions you're going to ask, it's important to have them because it makes it look like you're interested in the job. It means that, hey, you took the time out of your day to research our company and you asked some pretty damn good questions. And I don't know, there's what other things to prepare for an interview. Make sure that you dress for the occasion, you dress well, and just practice. For interviews, remember to practice. Practice makes perfect. You know, you basically will kind of have a general sense of what questions they're going to ask you. They're going to be like, oh, why do you want to work here? What do you say are your weaknesses? Stuff like that. So anticipate it, be prepared, but don't act too scripted. You don't want to sound too scripted when you're answering people in the interview, because it's a put off. They want to know the real you, so you have to come in with a little of your own personality inside the interview. But yeah, that's some tips about preparing for an interview. But if you have any specific questions, I know that was a very broad question. It's kind of hard to answer broad questions. So if you guys have specific questions, feel free to ask specific questions. I'm going to go back to the chat. Let's see. Here's one for you. What is your strat for applying to jobs? Do you just send applications to as many companies as possible, or do you apply to a small amount of companies but make really good applications? Good question, EJ. That is a great question. My strategy for applying to jobs, for me personally, I didn't just rapid fire. So when I first started, like when I was in college, when I never had a job before, I kind of rapid fired with the jobs, where I was applying to as many things as possible, because honestly, I didn't really have any options. I was coming out of college. I didn't really have much experience anywhere. So I was like, I was desperate. To answer your question real quick, I was an accounting major in college. So like it was my junior year. I was looking for an internship, and I actually accepted the position as, accounting intern at a cultural theater. It was unpaid. It didn't even give me any credits. I just did it because honestly, I needed the experience. I needed something on my resume, and I did that. But after that, after I got experience in the field, I was able to start applying the jobs that I wanted. I feel like it's important to really apply the jobs that you actually want, because like I said, it's important that when you go into if you actually get an interview at the company you're applying for, it's important to at least be somewhat passionate, or at least interested in the position you're applying for. Because I could be applying for like this random job in like, I don't know, some pharmaceutical company. For me, I wouldn't want to work in pharmaceuticals. So it would say if I were to apply for a job in pharmaceuticals, I got an interview. I go in an interview. What am I going to talk about? Like, I could lie and say, yeah, medicine, it's going to change the world, stuff like that. But like, even if I were to get the job, I would probably be out in the next couple months because I'm just bored, I'll just be bored with the job. So I really am picky about the jobs that I do apply for, because at least I know that if I do get an interview with them, I would be interested enough to research the company, come in prepared to talk about why I would be of value to the company and why I would be excited to be a part of the company. And that really goes a long way in interviews. Like just having sheer enthusiasm for the company, or at least just showing it to the recruiter, goes a long way. Because like I said, there's like a company can have thousands of applicants. They can have thousands. So there has to be something that differentiates you from all the other competition. And to me, I feel like that's personality, enthusiasm. So EJ, I hope that that answers your question. That's just my opinion. Obviously, everyone can have different experiences, but that's just my experience. I like to do a small amount of companies, but companies that I really enjoy and I really like, so that I could go into interview where I could be completely myself, because in the long run it's important. But but it's harder to do that when you're first starting in. If you are first starting in and trying to get like your first job, maybe it's not the best to be super picky, because again, experience, even though you might have the best personality and the best enthusiasm for a company, you still need experience. So if you need to make some compromises, just like I did with that first job I did, maybe that's what you have to do. You do have to compromise sometimes, but down the line, maybe you will get your dream job or the job that you would like. But maybe for the first job, sometimes you do have a compromise, because jobs these days be saying, yo, you need 2 to 3 work experience, entry level position. I'm like, what? How are you gonna call it an entry level position if you can't even let me enter the job without having prior job experience? Jobs are crazy, but yes. So in short, I'm not picky, but if it's your first time looking for a job, maybe it's okay to be not picky, So hope that helps that. Remember, guys, if you have other questions, feel free to ask. I guess to help things move along, I actually prepared for you guys some apparatus. I made a resume template. You know what? First, a little backstory. So when I worked at Rock Nation, I was given the responsibility to hire our, not say intern, but accounting coordinator, right? So I had to go through some resumes with my fellow coworkers, and we had to really point out, okay, which candidate should we select? And that really opened up my eyes about resumes. I didn't really know how much like the template of a resume and formatting of a resume really affected a person's perception until I actually had to review resumes. Because there were some resumes that just were dog water. Like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But some resumes were just straight, like, they were, like, so messy and booty. But, like, I didn't even want to read it because it just showed me, like, you guys didn't put effort into making the resume. Resume formatting goes a long way for submitting resume. I think it honestly it affected like 70% of my decision on whether I wanted to review a resume or not. So formatting of a resume is very important, and then the other 30% was the actual content. All right, maybe it was a really bad weighting system there, but I just wanted to really emphasize that formatting of a resume is super important. And to be completely transparent, this is a resume that I use to help me land jobs in the NBA, Rock Nation, and now currently at New York Giants. So this was a resume my recent resume that I used to get my job at the Giants. This is it right here. So it's a very just a clean template. It's straight to the point, no shenanigans. It's boom, 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 bap. We got professional experience, skills and interests, education, leadership, and then honors and accomplishments. Boom, 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 bap. Straight to the point. You know what you're getting. It's important. It's important. And then there's so many rules and caveats to making a resume. Like, this is just a format. But there's so many rules that you should follow when doing a resume. Honestly, I didn't really follow some of the rules when making this resume, but I can point it out wherever I need to point it out. So some general tips. This was the resume I used, and I converted it into some type of resume template. So shouldn't a resume have the job you had worked at last be on top? Yes, that is right. This is the job I worked at last, right here. So this was the resume I used when I applied to the New York Giants. I didn't get that job. I wasn't at that job yet. So this was the last one I had. Cause yeah, when employers are looking at a resume, they kind of want to see, this is the first thing. This is the job he's at right now, and then this is your experience. They want to see the top one first. Are cover letters still a thing? Yes, cover letters are still a thing. It really depends on the employers, to be honest. When I was reviewing resumes, I was not interested in cover letters whatsoever. And when all the jobs I've actually applied to, I've never submitted a cover letter. So I don't know how important they are, to be honest. They could be to some companies, but from my personal experience, I've never used cover letters. And I'm not saying you shouldn't, but I've never really used it. I'm not a big fan of cover letters. It just I feel like cover letters you can lie a lot in a cover letter. You could really lie a lot, and that's what I don't like about it. With resumes, it's kind of like, these are facts. It's like, you worked here, that's a fact. You went to school here, that's a fact. With cover letters, you can kind of embellish. So like, that's why I'm not a big fan of cover letters, but that's just my opinion. But yes, guys, this is a resume template that I prepared. It's pretty straightforward. You just put your name at the top, the phone number, email, and LinkedIn. And I highly suggest that you actually put a hyperlink for your email and the LinkedIn, so that if you do send like a PDF copy to the employer, all they have to do is, click the link, and it will automatically send them to your email or your LinkedIn. But yeah, it's pretty standard format. You just have the company here in bold, the city or state. So, for example, like Secaucus, New Jersey. Position title, like what position were you in, italics, with the date range, be it like May 2015, like June 2016, something like that. I don't know. And it's very important that with the bullet points that you do for the job experiences, 2 to 5 bullet points, max 5, but 5 is kind of pushing it, especially if you're trying to fit a good amount of stuff in your resume. 2 to 5 points, nothing more. Less is good too. Less than 5 is good, but the more specific and descriptive you are, the better. And make sure to start each bullet point with an action verb, something that's strong. See, that thing, I didn't really use a lot of strong action verbs in mine, but like strong action verbs could be like facilitate, coordinated, collaborated on, supervised, implemented, like even specific stuff like reconcile. Like, you don't want to use weak words like use or help or something like that. You never want to use those weak words. Always try to use strong words because it starts with a bang. It just goes off your tongue a little bit better. And you want to quantify, if you can quantify your job in any capacity. For example, you increase production by 15%, or like there's inventory went up by 1,000, or I don't know, something like that. If you can quantify your job description, do it as much as possible because it just shows impact. You want to, in these descriptions, you want to show that you are impactful in the business. Is very important, because if you are impactful in the current company you're in, you will be impactful in the company that you're applying for, and that's what they want to see. And then moving on to the skills and interests, you want to do put specific hard skills in any software that you use, and make sure that anything that you put here is relevant to the company you're applying for. You do not want to put like freaking Python if you are if you're applying for a marketing position, because when would you use Python? You probably might want to use like Adobe or something. That's something specific. Oh, Nemo says, how important is it to have a good and mutual relationship with your previous job? I believe it's very important to actually to have a strong relationship with your previous employer, because, well, there's always a chance that the company that you're applying for might reach out to your current employer now and ask, how is he? So you don't want to leave a bad taste in their mouth, because it could affect your future. Because you never know that even in like 2 jobs from now, say like I go on to my next job, they might ask like my person from my super old job, like, how was he? Because you never know. You never want to, as much as you can, you never want to burn bridges with anybody, because honestly, to have a network intact, especially at companies, is super important, because you never know when you might need to reference them or you need to talk to them again. I feel like networking is super important, so I think it is important to have a good relationship with your previous job, just so you never know. You just never know. I'm gonna finish through. So education, you want to put the university name, city, state, degree, graduation date, blah blah blah. You want to put your cumulative major, your major GPA, but honestly, this could be left out. This doesn't have to be here. They just have to know you graduated. I only suggest you put it here if you have a 3.5 or above. If you don't, that's okay, but it might be best to just leave it out. And put any academic awards along with it. They want to see leadership experience too. Especially if you're right out of college, they want to show, like, maybe if you don't have a lot of professional experience, maybe you're compensated with leadership experience. They want to see that. So feel free to put that. It's the same tips as the professional experience, though. You want to be specific. You want to be descriptive. Start each one with a strong action verb. Quantify if possible. Quantify and action verbs. Very important. And then honest accomplishments. Honestly, it could be left out. If you don't have any, that's fine. You can compensate. You can, fill out the rest of it. But at the end of it, you want to make sure that everything will fit onto one page. It shows that you are straight to the point. I don't want to be reading 4 pages of your resume. No. 1 page is fine. You can fit. Trust me, you might think you have a lot, but you can really condense it. You can condense it. 1 page is ideal. Right here. 1 page. Straight to the point. Simple. I had to do some compromises with the formatting here, honestly. Like, I didn't put this in 2 separate lines because I needed the space. I needed the lines. But, there's always some compromises here and there. Like I said, it's not completely 100% straightforward, but that's just how it is. Sometimes you gotta make compromises in life. That's it, y'all. Again, thank you guys for coming to the stream. Appreciate you guys. You guys have been absolutely amazing. I hope it was a good workshop. I hope you guys learned something again. So, sorry. This is the last time I'm going to say good night. Everyone have a great night. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.